Since he's not on Reddit, I feel comfortable discussing this topic here. Has anyone ever been at their high school and fallen in love with that one hot man who moved in? Your buddies would probably tell you not to fall in love with him because he's bad news. He'll shatter your heart, and they proved to be correct. He was that. I don't know why he was called Magicman. I suppose it had to do with the card tricks. But everyone continued to make fun of the moniker. Our sophomore year, 2020 to 2021, was when we first became friends, and after that, I fell in love. We shared an English class together. I informed my friend E that although I admired him, he was already taken. Therefore, I didn't have a chance. She informed me that was fortunate for me since he was horrible news and would probably hurt me. I regret not listening to her and the others before to the events that transpired. I added him on Snapchat after the school year, not expecting him to do the same. After over a month, he succeeded in the end. During our conversation, I learned that he and his girlfriend had split up. He asked me out after his shift a few days later, but I declined for some reason. I honestly can't recall why. I should note that I had lost interest in him within the month it took for him to add me back. I often have a tendency to suppress or hide my emotions and act as though they don't exist. I know it's harmful, but I was able to suppress any emotion I didn't want to, but some were beyond my control. He asked if we could hang out at his apartment after a week or two. I mentioned his place because I was going through a difficult time at home. My mom was dating, engaged to a man I didn't get along with, and my dad had lost his house and was living in a trailer behind his workplace. Thus, neither of their residences was a viable choice. I was expecting nothing serious, just hanging out, watching TV, maybe playing video games. But that was not how things happened. Rather than that, he forced me to discuss topics that I never spoke with anyone before, and I now detest it. He also shared stuff with me. He made me feel like he fell in love with me again, at least through text, with something he said early on. But it was all a lie in the end. We would cuddle up and watch Sword Art Online together. After we finished talking, we would make out. However, we hardly ever saw the show itself. We would occasionally visit the mall, the park, or the hot tub. Nothing happened in there. This continued for around 1 or 2 months. Do you have one of those plush octopuses that can go from joyful to upset? He got us nearly identical ones. Later, I torched mine in the fire pit. Although I knew deep down that something wasn't right, at the moment it felt like I was in a whirlwind romantic relationship. We had a lot of time together, but it was always according to his schedule. He made all of the decisions about when and where we hung out. I was infatuated and went along with it. But now that I look back, I realize how one-sided it was. He never did the same for me, even though I would sacrifice everything for him. Sports and clubs resumed along with school. Due to my condition, I participated in adapted sports, a sports program for the disabled, while he participated in yearbook. Not as frequently, but nevertheless, we texted. With our mutual friends, we spent time together over lunch. Before he changed classes, I don't think we took any together. He agreed to come to homecoming when I asked him. I checked in with him again just to be sure. I spotted him on the adapted sports float on the day of the homecoming parade. He must have noticed me too since he grinned briefly before it vanished. It ached, and I'm not sure whether he recognized what kind of float I was on. Later on, we went to the homecoming game together, but not together. We crossed paths in the park by the school, had a brief conversation on the swings, then he was gone. At last, the dancing night had arrived. I dressed up and put on this stunning outfit that my sister had worn to her senior prom. My other sister applied my makeup, and my second cousin, who currently owns her own salon, did my hair. For the first and hopefully final time in a long time, I truly felt beautiful that evening. However, things did not go as expected. There are no photos that we took together. He didn't respond to my text when I tried to text him. However, I wasn't blocked. I observed him photographing individuals for the yearbook in the parking lot across the street. He responded, "I don't take photos with people," when I tried to ask to snap a picture with him. All right then. But hold on. Didn't he shoot portraits of people? What made him take photos with his prom date then? I saw him at homecoming hardly at all. When I invited him to dance, after noticing that he was seated with other girls, he responded, "Oh, I don't dance." I asked questions about it then. If you're going to spend the date hanging out with other girls rather than the person you arrived with, why consent to the date? And why not take pictures or dance with them? And to top it all off, he can dance. I turned to face one of the females when he made a condescending remark. He was chuckling. I was crying too much to control myself anymore. I softly sobbed as I made my way outside the building. I made an effort to spend the remainder of the evening with my team's girls, but I was unable. I then walked away. Looking back, it makes a lot of sense that he was high as a kite at homecoming, as I discovered later. When I questioned him about it all the next week, he told me he already had too much on his plate and didn't want to deal with anything I was bringing up. He then blocked me. The fact that I told him things that, at the time, I hadn't even told my closest friend stings the most. Of course, I was concerned about that. How could you not be? I felt like he had taken a piece of me and thrown it away. I felt naked and vulnerable. An audio recording of him doing this scary voice became viral at the end of the year, and everyone knew it was him. My academic assistance class, which is essentially a study hall with fewer students and a smaller room, is where I first heard it, so it should be quieter. Naturally, though, it wasn't. He sounded so dumb that when I first heard it, I laughed my ass off. Yes, there is darkness within me. I will punish those who mistreat me. Really? All people are dark. You're also not frightened. At first it was humorous, but eventually it simply depressed me. How could someone I had confided in and believed I knew so well turn out to be so quite different from what I had imagined? I came to the realization that he wasn't who I had assumed him to be, and that I had been clinging to an ideal rather than the truth about him. After our breakup, those were difficult weeks. I was perplexed and felt deceived. Because I had put my trust in him, he had treated me like a disposable object, someone he could take and throw away whenever it fit. It required a considerable amount of time for me to comprehend all that had transpired, and even more time to accept forgiveness for allowing it to occur. I couldn't help but think of all the red flags, all the times my friends had advised me to exercise caution, and all the times I had disregarded their advice because I believed I was stronger. In actuality, though, I didn't. My feelings had blinded me, and it took getting injured for me to recognize that. I was upset for a while, at the circumstance, at him, and at myself. I went over every second in my mind, trying to figure out how I could have avoided this and what I might have done better. However, I soon came to the conclusion that thinking about it would not make a difference. All I could do was learn from it and move on, since what was done was done. I wish I could say that after that, I soon moved on and everything was all right, but that wasn't the case. I took a long time to move past what had happened, and occasionally I still get a tinge of sadness when I think about it. However, I've come to accept it as a part of my history and something that has shaped who I am now. I've discovered that while it's acceptable to show vulnerability, self-defense is equally crucial. It's acceptable to feel things, but you also need to know when those sentiments are pushing you in the wrong direction. Most significantly, I've discovered that it's acceptable to let go of those who don't treat you with the respect you deserve. I can see how much I've changed since then when I look back. I know who I am and how valuable I am, and I'm also better at establishing limits. I will not accept anything less than respect and kindness from others. I now know that I deserve it. If I've learned anything from this experience, it's that following your instincts is crucial. Something is probably off if it feels that way. Furthermore, if those who cherish you are trying to tell you something, and it's important to listen to them. I didn't want to think that someone I loved about could harm me, so I disregarded a number of warning signs. But that doesn't guarantee someone is a good fit for you just because you care about them. I've also discovered that making errors is acceptable. Because we are all human, we all make decisions that we later come to regret. It's crucial that we grow from our mistakes and apply those lessons to future endeavors. Even though I messed up a lot with him, I don't regret the experience since it helped me realize a lot about who I am and what kind of relationship I desire. Despite the fact that the experience was unpleasant, I'm thankful for it in the end. It let me realize how strong I am and helped me recognize what a relationship would actually be a good fit for me. I'm in a lot better position now, even though it took me some time to get there. I'm now concentrating on the future and what lies ahead. I've discovered that I should be more careful with my emotions, but I'm also willing to consider the chance of meeting someone who will show me the respect and love I deserve. I can now be certain that I don't have to accept anything less. What about him? He's now only a memory, though, an insight gained. Although I don't detest him, I also don't have any affection for him. He was a part of my life, but I've moved on. I've discovered that there are ups and downs in life, and even though the downs might be unpleasant, they also present chances for development. I'm happy that I've changed from the person I was when I first met him. I am more confident in myself, wiser, and stronger than I have ever been. So know that things get better if you're reading this, and you might be experiencing anything similar. You deserve to be treated with compassion and respect because you are stronger than you realize. Never accept anything less. Most importantly, don't hesitate to part ways with those that don't respect you. Your value is established by how you treat yourself, not by how other people view you. I'm happy with my progress in the past, and I'm looking forward to what lies ahead. I'm prepared for the trials that lie ahead, even though I know they will come. I'm prepared to meet whatever comes my way with bravery, strength, and a heart that has discovered self-love.